Hello guys, I just passed the updated CKA exam on my first attempt, and in this video I'm gonna compare the Killer Kode questions, KillerSH practice test to the real CKA exam. And later in the video, I'm gonna give you the most optimal way you can schedule your practice in order to succeed. Just if you don't know, when you purchase your CKA exam, you're gonna receive both KillerSH practice questions for free, so don't go ahead and purchase them before that. The KillerSH practice questions will offer you on remote desktop environment, almost identical to the one you will receive in the real exam, with only minor visual differences. Both exams will be available to you for 36 hours after you activate them. With that out of the way, the Killer Kode questions are a great starting point, and I do recommend you solve all of them. However, when you're solving them, try to do as many as possible without looking to the solutions. And if you look at the solutions, try to don't copy and paste them, just go into the Kubernetes documentation, find the YAML file you will use to solve this question and edit it. This way you will get some practice on searching and editing the YAML files. The main problem with the Killer Kode question is they don't include any of the new topics. So the CKA exam was updated February 2025 and now includes new topics like Helm, Kustomize, Gateway API, Core DNS, CNI plugins. And on the real exam, I got questions on all of them, except Core DNS. I don't think I got a question on Core DNS, but this doesn't mean you won't get the question on Core DNS, so don't exclude it. Before you proceed with your Killer SH practice exams, go and look up these topics and check out some questions there are on the internet. The Killer SH practice exams will include everything you'll see on the real exam. I have to say the difference between difficulty in the Killer Kode questions and the Killer SH practice exam is significant. The practice exam questions are harder, so when you're going into it, go prepared and go confident. The questions on the practice exam are harder from the real exam, but not by much. On my real exam, I even got a question regarding Gateway API, which was harder than that one you'll see on the practice test. So don't expect the real exam questions to be easier. The main difference is on the real exam, you're going to have 7 to 8 hard questions, a couple of medium difficulty questions, and a couple of easy questions. While on the practice test, you're going to have 17 hard questions. And even these hard questions on the practice exam, they will have more action points. So you will have to create more stuff. For example, you may be required to create a multi-container pod with 3 containers, add an environment variable, add a volume and a volume mount. While the similar question on the real exam will perhaps require to add only 2 containers, a volume and a volume mount. So basically the difficulty is the same, only one requires you to perform more edits and it's more time consuming. So let me tell you how I structured my practice. 10 days before the exam, I started doing all of the Killer Kode questions. Once I got them done, 3 days before the exam, I scheduled my first practice tests. I dedicated 2 hours, sat down, and did it. So I was shocked when I saw I got only 35% on it. And what happened was I ran out of time basically on question 9, and I completely underestimated how difficult will be in working in this remote desktop environment. I used my 13-inch MacBook Air, and when you go into the environment, half of your screen or like 1/4 of your screen is going to be covered with the questions, and the left is for your working environment. There you will have to manage both the terminal and a Firefox window with the Kubernetes documentation, and it is challenging. Also, for me, it was very strange to use Control C, Control V to copy, and in the terminal, you actually have to use Control Shift C, Control Shift V, and I'm used to Command and Command V, so it was a struggle to get used to. Multiple times, I pressed Control Shift C in the Firefox window, and this opened the developer tools, so then you have to get rid of this, and it was a mess. However, I solved the remaining questions after my time ran out, checked out all of the solutions, and once I understood them, I gave myself a little break and I focused, sat down again, and aimed to solve the test again in the given time frame, aiming at 100%. I advise you do the same. Also, my advice will be, if possible, try to find a bigger monitor to take the exams on. If not, you can do like me. I zoomed out on my second practice test, set the zoom to the terminal and the Firefox window to 80%, and this helped a lot, especially when it comes to the Kubernetes documentation. One day before my exam, I took the second practice test. I did significantly better. I got a 60%, but I still left a lot of questions after the time limit. I had 4 questions left, I think, but I did redo the same steps. Checked and make sure I understood the solutions, took a break, and then redid the test again. So just you can practice in the remote desktop environment. It is very important to have, in my opinion, those 4 days before your test hands-on experience in the remote desktop environment. I would not advise you to try the practice tests like a month before your first attempt. In my opinion, the most optimal schedule you'll set up to pass is almost similar to mine. Just give yourself more time between the tests because for me it was stressful. I will advise you to start with the Killer Kode questions. Once you've solved those, book your exam, and 6 days before your first attempt on the exam, just schedule your first practice tests. Treat it as your real exam. Set aside 2 hours, do as many questions as you can, and don't worry if you get a bad score. Check out the solutions, make sure you understand them, and on your second attempt, you should aim getting 100% in the given time. 3 days before your exam, schedule your second practice test and redo the same steps. Following this, you should be pretty much set to pass the CKA on your first attempt. However, if you don't succeed, you should be pretty close to passing. So you may feel confident to go ahead and book that second attempt right away. But if you want to be on the safe side, there is another CKA exam simulator out there. It is called CKA Simulator, so you can check that out. And finally, some key topics you should focus on. I think the new exam is leaning heavy on the newly updated topics, so check them out. And I think there's not enough questions on the practice exam and on the internet to really get some good experience with them. So additional areas you should be feeling pretty confident in is creating deployments, scaling deployments, creating multi-container pods, persistent volume claims, and troubleshooting is a big component of the exam. You will most certainly get at least one question with a broken Kubernetes cluster. So I hope you found this video useful and I wish you good luck.